The Lord then said to Moses, "Pay close attention to this. I will make you seem like God to Pharaoh. Your brother Aaron will be your prophet. He will speak for you. Make sure that you let Aaron know everything I say to you and have him announce it to Pharaoh. He will demand that the people of Israel be allowed to leave Egypt. But I will cause Pharaoh to be stubborn so I can multiply my miraculous signs and wonders in Egypt. Even then Pharaoh will refuse to listen to you. So I will crush Egypt with a series of disasters, after which I will lead the forces of Israel out with great acts of judgment. When I show the Egyptians my power and force them to let the Israelites go, they will realize that I am the Lord." So Moses and Aaron did just as the Lord had commanded them. Moses was 80 years old and Aaron was 83 at the time they made their demands to Pharaoh. The Lord then said to Moses and Aaron, "Pharaoh will demand that you show him a miracle to prove that God has sent you. When he makes this demand, say to Aaron, 'Throw down your shepherd's staff, and it will become a snake.'" So Aaron and Moses went to see Pharaoh, and they performed the miracle just as the Lord had told them. Aaron threw down his staff before Pharaoh and his court, and it became a snake. Then Pharaoh called in his wise men and magicians, and they were able to do the same thing with their secret arts. Their staffs became snakes too. But then Aaron's snake swallowed up their snakes. Pharaoh's heart, however, remained hard and stubborn. He still refused to listen, just as the Lord had predicted. The Lord then said to Moses, "Pharaoh is very stubborn and he continues to refuse to let the people go. So head on to Pharaoh in the morning as he goes down to the river. Stand on the riverbank and meet him there. Be sure to have your shepherd's staff that turned into a snake. Then say to him, 'The Lord, the God of the Hebrews, has sent me to say, let my people go, so they can worship me in the wilderness. Until now you have refused to listen to him. Now the Lord says, you are going to find out that I am the Lord. Look, I will hit the water of the Nile with a staff, and the river will turn to blood. The fish in it will die, and the river will stink. All the Egyptians will not be able to drink any water from the Nile." The Lord then said to Moses, "Tell Aaron then to point his staff towards the waters of Egypt, every river, canal, marsh, and reservoir. Everywhere in Egypt the water will turn into blood, even the water stored in wooden bowls and stone pots in the people's homes." So Aaron and Moses did just as the Lord had commanded them. As Pharaoh and all his officials watched, Aaron raised his staff and hit the water of the Nile. Suddenly the whole river turned to blood. All the fish died, and the water became so foul that the Egyptians could not drink it. There was blood everywhere throughout the land of Egypt. But again, the Egyptian magicians used their secret arts, and they too were able to turn water into blood. So Pharaoh's heart remained hard and stubborn. He refused to listen to Moses and Aaron, exactly as the Lord had predicted. Pharaoh returned to his palace and put the whole thing out of his mind. The Egyptians dug wells along the riverbank to get drinking water, as they could not drink from the river anymore. An entire week passed from the time the Lord turned the water of the Nile into blood. The Lord then said to Moses, "Go to Pharaoh once again and tell him, 'This is what the Lord says. Let my people go so they can worship me. If you refuse, then listen carefully to this. I will send vast hordes of frogs across the entire land from border to border. The Nile River will swarm with them. They will come up out of the river into the houses, even into the rooms and onto the beds too. Every home in Egypt will be filled with them. They will fill even your ovens and your kneading bowls. You and your people will be overwhelmed by frogs." The Lord then said to Moses, "Go and tell Aaron to point his shepherd's staff toward all the rivers, canals, and marshes in Egypt, so that there will be frogs in every corner of the land." Aaron did so, and frogs covered all of Egypt. But the magicians were able to do the same thing with their secret arts. They too caused frogs to come up on the land. So Pharaoh summoned Moses and Aaron and begged, "Plead with the Lord to take the frogs away from me and my people. I will let the people go, so they can offer sacrifices to the Lord." Moses then replied, "You set the time. Tell me when you want me to pray for you, your officials and your people. I will pray that you and your houses will be rid of the frogs. Then only the frogs in the river of the Nile will remain alive." "Do it tomorrow," Pharaoh said. Moses replied, "All right, it will be as you have said. Then you will know that no one will be as powerful as the Lord our God. All the frogs will be destroyed except those that are in the river." And so Moses and Aaron left Pharaoh, and Moses went to plead with the Lord about the frogs that he had sent. And the Lord did as Moses had promised. The frogs all disappeared from the houses, the courtyards, and the fields. They all died. They were piled into great heaps, and a terrible stench filled the land of Egypt yet again. But, of course, when Pharaoh saw the frogs were gone, he hardened his heart even more. He refused to listen to Moses and Aaron, just as the Lord had predicted. So the Lord said to Moses, "Tell Aaron to strike the dust with his staff. The dust will turn into swarms of gnats throughout the land of Egypt." So Moses and Aaron did just as the Lord had commanded them. Suddenly gnats infested the entire land, covering the Egyptians along with their animals. All the dust in the land of Egypt turned into gnats. Pharaoh's magicians tried to do the same thing with their secret arts, but this time they failed. The magicians then exclaimed to Pharaoh, "This is the finger of God." But Pharaoh's heart remained hard and stubborn. He would not listen to them, which is exactly as the Lord had predicted. The next thing the Lord told Moses, he went on to say, "Get up early in the morning and meet Pharaoh as he goes down to the river. Say to him, 'This is what the Lord says. Let my people go so that they can worship me. If you refuse, I will send swarms of flies throughout Egypt. Your homes will be covered and filled with them, and the ground as well. But it will be very different in the land of Goshen, where the Israelites live. No flies will be found there. Then you will know that I am the Lord, and that I have power even in the heart of your land. I will make a clear distinction between your people and my people. This miraculous sign will happen tomorrow." And the Lord did just as he had said. There were terrible swarms of flies in Pharaoh's palace and every single house of Egypt. The entire country was thrown into chores by the flies. Pharaoh hastily called for Moses and Aaron yet again. "All right, go ahead and offer sacrifices to your God, but do it here in this land. Don't go out into the wilderness," he said. Moses replied, "That won't do. The Egyptians would detest the sacrifices that we offer to the Lord our God. If we offer them here where they can see us, they will be sure to stone us. We must take a 3-day trip into the wilderness to offer sacrifices to the Lord our God, just as he has commanded us." "All right, go ahead. I will let you go to offer sacrifices to the Lord your God in the wilderness, but don't go too far away. Now hurry and pray for me," replied Pharaoh. "As soon as I go," Moses said, "I will ask the Lord to cause the swarms of flies to disappear from you and all your people, but I am warning you. Don't change your mind again and refuse to let the people go." Moses then left Pharaoh and asked the Lord to remove all the flies, and the Lord did as Moses asked and caused the swarms to disappear. Not a single fly remained in the land. But Pharaoh hardened his heart again and refused to let the people go.